course, we're running a little ahead of schedule as usual, but I am assured that Andrew Jeeves has lots of extra things he wants to set up. So come on up, Andrew, and I will leave the stage to you and your serried props. It looks fascinating.
Louder, Jason, louder. Okay, thank you, everybody. Now, where's the clicker? Right, now, how you all feeling? Bit tired? Bit brain dead? I think you are. What I'm going to do, I want you all to stand up, please. Turn this way. Lift your arms up. Put them on the shoulders in front of you. Now massage. Yeah. What about me? Okay, turn the other way. Okay, you've had enough fun. Now, have you learned anything today? Because now's your last chance. Now, okay, away we go. You can start the countdown, if you like. Oh, don't worry. Now, you don't know me from a bar of soap, a lot of you, but I'm not going to bore you with my background, except that before starting on this talk last week, that's the boat the maiden voyage of my boat I built and put in the water last week, so I just thought I'd throw that in. Now, but there's really not enough time to mess around boats. I mean, sustainability, we've got to get out there and do our bit. And so a friend of mine said we've got to write a book about soil and save the world. So this is what this is all about. But to do that, we have to go and look at the short history of topsoil. In the beginning, how's it look? Yep, 400 million years ago, no rocks. I mean, the rocks, no topsoil, no plants on the land. That's what it looked like. Now, you might wonder how I got that photo 400 million years ago. It's one of those... I think there was a box brownie. Well, anyway. Now, but in the water, there were plants. Nice, warm environment surrounded by nutrients absorbed through the leaves, carbon dioxide, but they didn't have roots. Now, unfortunately, the oceans receded, the plants were left high and dry. The cast on the land, survive or perish. So I had to team up with something that they could work with. Haha. OMG, what's AMF? Now, did that really help you? I don't know. Arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. Now, what's that mean? Arbuscular means, an arbuscule is a little sac-like structure that pushes its way into plant roots. Mycorrhiza means, myco is fungus, rhiza is root. So it's a fungus that has root-like filaments in the soil. I don't know why I'm nervous, I've got a sort of dry throat. Now, this is what happens. I drew that. Now, the fungi can't photosynthesize. And the plants couldn't get nutrients. So they got together, the plants photosynthesized, gave liquid carbon to the fungi, and the fungi have weak acids that they release, giving nutrients back to the plant. That's how they survived. There's the root, there's the AMF. Another word to learn, hyphy. Hyphy are those filamental roots-like things. And there's the liquid carbon. That's a real-life photo of it happening, okay? So, slowly all that evolved, the plants and the topsoils grew and evolved together, up the hill, as did the complexity and diversity, until we arrived at the amazing web of life we have today. Looks like that. Mount Buller, I don't know where that is, and then Tasmania. So that's what we end up with. The take-home message, first message is that plants and the associated AMF are the builders of topsoil, were the builders of topsoil, and still are the builders of topsoil. Now, who eats wheat? Who doesn't eat wheat? Oh my goodness. Who didn't put their hands up? Ah, they're the troublemakers. So we're going to do a tale of two loaves of bread. We're going to compare conventional farmers and what I like to call light farmers. So the conventional farmers, here's one. He's a proud winner of a yield award for wheat. They're pretty well dependent on using a lot of energy, sprays, tilling the soil, direct drilling the soil, and that's how they get wheat. They have a little wheat plant, and then they do all these things which we'll talk about. Have I got a pointer? There we go. So they're using their sprays, they've got their fertilisers, releasing carbon dioxide, sown into bare soil. They've got humus, but it's decreasing, unfortunately, topsoil decreasing, and they're losing soil. We'll get onto that later. And this is where the rubber hits the road. Here we are in the rhizosphere that, sorry, what's your name again? Andrea talked about, sorry. And you can see there's a root in the soil, but there's no association with that fungi that we talked about because, unfortunately, they get suppressed by turning the soil, sprays, herbicides, fungicides, suppress that relationship. Take home message number 2. So modern conventional farming has to substitute all that stuff that in the early days, or when things are working properly, that these fungi help with plants to arrive at nutrients, free nutrients, and consequent plant health. And, unfortunately, mostly decreases the plant quality, soil quality and quantity. Now, light farming. Here's cold size at Winona, which I think Darren mentioned in his talk too. He does pasture cropping. Now, what's pasture cropping? That's where you sow wheat or grains straight into a dormant pasture. A couple of guys recognised, if you can see that. Oh, sorry. Summer grasses go dormant, winter. Perfect time to plant a crop which grows, harvested, just as the grass is coming back. Fantastic. What does that mean? Well, it means we get to have a perfect situation. We've got a lot more ground cover. We've still got plants. We've got all that activity happening in the soil, and we can grow more topsoil if we can do the right thing. So there's the light farmer. He's got more roots in his soil. He's doing the same thing, and he's having different results, which we're going to talk about now and compare. Come on. Now, rubber hits the road here. Remember how the cartoon with the things happening? Wrong button again. Come on, come on. Up. Now, liquid carbon, nutrients, phosphorus, nitrogen, sulfur, copper, all these things coming in. Now look at this. These hyphy, mycorrhiza, increase the acquisition of nutrients by up to 700 times. Imagine if you didn't have that, or if you do, how much extra you're getting in that whole process. Take-home message number 3, light farmers do all these things. Make more money, isn't that good? Now as a quiz. Question. How much of these fungi are there in 4 square metres of soil in a perennial grassland, which is where they do best? Hands up for A, 10 kilometres. Nobody. Hands up for B, 100. 1, 2. Hands up for 3, 1,000. That's good. How much for D? Oh, how come? You're just guessing. D. So there's a lot of that stuff going, 4 square metres. Now let's compare these 2 farmers. Now, inputs. Conventional farmers use a lot of diesel travelling around to put on their sprays, plant their food and treat their seeds, synthetic fertiliser. These light farmers hardly do any work. Well, and they're not spending much money and not putting many inputs in. That's good, isn't it? Now, this is where it gets interesting. So, average wheat farmer in Australia, for every loaf that they grow, they lose the equivalent of 10 loaves of topsoil for every loaf they grow. That's it there. Which that's it there, if you can't see. So that's every loaf. Now, what does that mean? Well, we'll just look at the other guys. Not only are they not losing soil, they're gaining 3.5, 3.6. It's quite a big difference, isn't it? You notice I made that multigrain to be a bit more. Why does it say that? Oh, that's to tell me to do the bags of soil. Now, don't laugh. So I better hurry up. How much soil is lost? Now, for this we have to use the internationally recognised universal indicator for soil or volume, which is an MCG at Melbourne Cricket Ground. So, in Australia, every year, average farm, average soil loss, 72 MCGs worth of dirt. So that's a bit of a problem. 17 million cubic metres. So is it this or this? Now let's look at some other comparisons. So livestock carrying capacity. Conventional farmers, it's the same or reducing. Cole Sice's place, he's actually doubled the amount of sheep he can carry. Carbon dioxide, global warming. They're losing to the atmosphere. Light farmers are sequestering. Isn't that good news? Topsoil depth. Well, obviously we're losing and gaining here. So one's decreasing, one's increasing. Here's another light farmer. I like light farmers. This is Bruce and Heidi at Candelo doing beef. 2 core samples on the left. Topsoil under blackberries on the right. Topsoil 4 metres away in the pasture. Pasture's about 250. Under blackberries, nearly double. And that's a weed. So I've got farmers who are planting blackberries now to get better soil. Who would have thought? Now let's compare the money. I'm going to run out of time for sure. So let's look at the money. You can use Cole's place, conventional farms on the left, when he used to be a conventional farmer. On the right, what he does now, he's saving $81,000 from one to the other a year. And, come on, doing all these things as well at the same time by doing pasture farming and getting this fungi to grow. Now, nutritional quality, it's conventionally, it's suspect. Light farmers, it's superior. Now, which bread do you want to eat? Let's have a look at the health thing if you don't believe that topsoil quality has anything to do with health. There's a few studies done, one in Europe, one in USA, about the decreases in nutrients in the food. This is just particularly calcium. UK, it's dropped from 50 to 75% in 30 years. America, 36 to 45. Compare grass-fed and feedlot. There's a thing called CLA, another good word. It's abundant in grass-fed livestock, cancer-fighting fat. 2 studies done in Europe. If you've got more CLA, you have a lower risk of breast cancer. The women with the highest had 74% lower risk of breast cancer. Imagine that. Now, this is for Ben and Wazza. Now, USDA did a study. If all the people in America could just be convinced to eat the recommended daily allowance of the primary nutrients, this is what would happen to health. Now, talk about a change in money in the economy and all that sort of stuff. And that's the Department of Agriculture. Now, which bread do you want to grow? Take-home message number 4. To regenerate our soils and our rural communities, as well as improve the health and sustainability of our landscapes and society, we must re-establish this association, which is almost absent in conventional farming. So light farming ticks all the boxes in FACETS. Now, how do you get it? I'm going to push through this. There's 6 rules. We already know that it's suppressed by these things. I'm losing my hearing. Okay, we know that's happening. Rule number 1, you cannot build soil if you don't have photosynthesis happening. You've got to keep the ground cover all year round. That maximises the potential for things to happen. Optimise photosynthetic capacity. Now, C4, C3. C4 are your summer active plants, C3 are winter active. You balance those and optimise those and you get more photosynthesis. Optimise the rate, in other words, manage your farm for maximum active growth, like holistic management, cell grazing, all that sort of stuff. Get some positive feedbacks going so it just builds and builds and builds, more productive, more resilient, more photosynthesis, and so it goes. Rule number 5, stimulate your AMF with natural inputs, which means anything that will increase photosynthesis or activity in soil, which means it's got to be natural. Things like Bruce, you know, Bruce and Heidi with the 2 tubes, guess what they use to stimulate their pasture? Worm juice. So they grow worms, they get the juice, they spray it out, boom, off it goes. Now, just so you see what chemicals are about, when we're talking about natural things, another quiz. Guess the amount of food loss due to pests before we really used all these chemicals. Guess what it is now, despite using all these chemicals? It's gone up a little bit. Rule number 6, the last rule, we prefer perennials rather than annuals. Why? You'll see here as you go across this, I'll just do it quickly. On the left is an annual, on the right is a perennial. In the same family, you can see how much more root growth you've got, so therefore more association, therefore more everything building. Take-home message number 5. It's just a summary for all those people who might be wanting to write it all down. So now you know, light farming is about channeling light energy into the soil ecosystems using these green plants and this arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. So if we fix ourselves, it might fix our future. I mean, there are other things we've got to fix, obviously, from today's talk. But unless we can get this going, we're in a bit of trouble, and it's a good thing to do. And this is how it works. The sun into the plant, into the root, association with the fungi, liquid carbon, nutrients come back, things start working, and you can cue the music, Mr. Music Man. And then we're done, really. Now we can dance. Oh, the people who got right for question D, they've got a free loaf of bread up the front for winning.
Everything can make you swear and cool. When you